I want to just let y'all know. I know, it can be hard. I ain't no damn therapist. I go to therapy. Honey. I do. Okay. But I know therapy isn't everybody's thing, right? Talk therapy. There's other types of therapy. But in just learning over the years, the stats with men, even with men, they are the more than women to commit suicide because of mental health issues, right? But people don't talk about that much. And I know there's a lot of theories, think pieces, stigmas connected to men and how they act. Men ain't no good. Okay. Men, they problems. But, at the same time, but there's men have their mental health. Men have, and men need soft spaces to land at times as well. And I say this on my show. This, I am a host on this show, so I can't be too extra. But at the same time, I say this to say, this is not me. This is no other conversation, but I love you guys. I love men. I want forever for you guys to feel like you guys have a safe space to land. Whether or not you go to therapy or find something that works for you, you are worthy of it. You deserve all the good things as a father, as a brother, as an uncle, as a friend, as just a person in this world. You deserve to live. If anything is so hard for you, too hard for you, there's somewhere for you. There's a number, there's whatever it is, talk to somebody, even if it's not your family members, if your family members are doing the problems, if your friend, whatever, you guys deserve to be in this world. I love each and every one of you. And, so I just wanted to say that because I know they be trying to lead the men out. And I know, Father's Day, you know what I'm saying? Matt is on Sunday. So, for happy Father's Day early to you.
Right. Yeah.
Happy Father's Day. And they call it a day.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to about that.
I think, Rebecca, there's a lot of reasons too, right? I don't think it's just that men are more prone to any of those things. I think it's they're less likely statistically to go talk to someone when they have problems. They're less likely to open up to their friends. They're less likely because when I was going to high school, the two worst things you could be was gay or a woman if you were a guy, right? So it's hey, wait, don't be gay. Hey, whoa, don't be a woman. Do you have feelings? That's feminine or gay. Both gay and feminine. You're gay and feminine, right? That's but that it sucks because that replicates itself in a lot of society. It's just that idea where it's men are masculine, they are not emotional, they are not hormonal, and they don't give way to emotions. We don't talk about our feelings because that's gay shit, and that would just reveal us for who we truly like that. And it's it's deeply unhealthy. It makes I know dudes who are best friends and they've never had beyond the surface level conversation kind of shit.
Yeah. I will say though that men do it to themselves.
Well, I mean,
that whole stigma is, it's not women have to deal with misogyny from men. The LGBTQ community has to deal with homophobia and transphobia from straight men. The whole men need to be tough and not show emotions. No, we're not it's not like gay men are doing that to us. It's not like lesbians are doing that to us. It's men have done that to themselves. So we have to get over that. Guys have to stop.
It's a societal-wide expectation. I think it reinforces
gay men are doing that to themselves. You think for me, it's okay. I'm an out gay person. So it's I shouldn't, in theory, based on stereotypes, have a problem, talking about feelings and, talking about that kind of shit. But it's no. I have to be very hardened. I have to conceal as well because I don't want to be that gay guy who's super emotional and stereotypical. So there's always some reason for us to have our guard up, right? So it's just, it's a problem.
It's something that being trans too, it was something that was interesting for me transitioning because I grew up, doing Boy Scouts stuff, and when I worked at Boy Scouts, I would spend months in the woods with a bunch of guys. We worked as a camp counselor for 10 years over the summer, and we just the beginning of the summer none of us would be super close. We wouldn't talk about our feelings or anything. And then you spend 2 months with people away from society for such a long time, away from your parents, away from expectations. You just have to do Boy Scout stuff. By the end of the 2 months, you just were open. You were just openly talking about your feelings and talking to each other in a way that I'd never really had a chance to experience when I was like being raised as a boy. And it was fascinating to see, like, when you remove from this expectations and remove from like having to put on this performance all the time, men will open up. And then me also transitioning when I came out as trans, like, hormones do like mess with your emotions, but I also didn't feel like my emotions changed necessarily, but I was able to like find more like groups of like trans friends or groups of like cis women and trans women to like just be, they were more willing to like listen to me talking about my emotions than you just don't get when you're seen as a guy. And so it is this the expectation of this like the society that puts it on.
Yes, that you said something there, Jesse. And so Matt, it's guys put them on themselves, but if we gotta, it ain't for everybody. Okay. So I said this on my show. It ain't everybody that deserves this grace. However, systemically, it is something that is placed upon, boys, people who identify as men. You got to be hard. You got to be strong, whether you're, in the LGBTQIA plus community, whether you're in this culture, or whether you're that. Men essentially have to show up as super strong. And if you show emotion, they're going to label you as a bitch. You're weak. You're this, you're that, or whatever the case may be. And so that is where it's problematic, because there are people who just want to show emotion. There are people, in relationships who should be able to do so. And then when it comes out, eventually it doesn't come out, it doesn't process well, because all this time you haven't been able to let it out as you would want to, because you are afraid of being looked at or labeled at as weak or not a man or less than a man. No matter what you identify as far as sexually, they will definitely be like, you a man, all of that. And that is systemic, and they want to program people, doctrinate them in that kind of way. And so it's, I would say it's not our duty, right, to save a man. Now I was about to be real black on y'all, but this is not a black audience. Now it's not our duty to do so, but at the same time, if we acknowledge that, and as women, that we have our situation, we have our differences, we have our things, of course, right? But at the same time, men should have a safe space to be able to let go of their emotions, to be able to talk about things and not be perceived as weak, like you should be able to do. Sometimes I know, Matt, maybe for you, being a dad can be hard. Sometimes you need to just take a break sometimes, because I know we oftentimes think about that for women a lot, right? Because a man didn't push out the baby or whatever the case may be, societally, how they view it, logically, whatever. But men have hard days too. My job, maybe your job wasn't giving you what you needed that day. Maybe it was stressful. You want to come home to somebody you could talk to and not be like, oh my goodness. On my show on Saturday, I was talking about how this girl was on a podcast, Erica Banks, a rapper whom I think is good at rapping. But in this podcast, and this is a talking point that is on social media, and it's big, right? And she was saying, like, I don't want my man to complain. She was speaking to other men, and they're on the podcast. I think it's 85 South. And they were saying, like, she was saying to these men, I don't want my man to complain. I think that's weak. I don't want my man. What you complaining about? And it's like, hold on. There's a day-to-day for men as well. Some things can get hard. I'm tired. I'm stressed. This day was a little bit hard for me. Like, I'm dealing with a death, or I'm dealing with an emotion that I can't really verbalize, but I just want to try to just, talk about it, get encouraged, something. Yes, I understand y'all dealt with some no good men. I understand that men were trained to treat women in a certain kind of way. I do. But if you got you a man, or whatever the case may be, it's a friend, it's a partner, it's an uncle, it's whatever, that actually wants to figure out some kind of help or work, or want a place to detach, and you're open to that and you can receive that, you have that capability where you can have that, then do so. If any resources, tell them that. It may not be easy. It may not be their first go round, or whatever the case may be. But if you're going to still be around these people, it's not to break them down. The same way that we, give that same grace to women in some way, shape, or form. I'm just saying, you could fight me, No,
this is an essential. Sorry, I see you go.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, this is what you're saying, Rebecca, is like it's an essential part of work that we need to do, right? I one of my favorite books is Bell Hooks' The Will to Change, which is her talking about how an essential core part of fighting for gender equality and fighting for feminism, and then also tying that into larger stuff, is to understand that we need to give compassion to men and ability for them to express their emotions and express their full selves. I mean, a lot of the ways that like right-wing assholes attempt to build their bases is to try and say like they're ruining men. Men need to be strong and
Force feminizing
force, exactly, like they're turning your kids trans. It's all this upholding of masculine bullshit of trying to hold on to this version of a man that's supposed to hold up society, great society, hard times build great men or whatever. And again, going to that idea of like we need to endlessly be working. But in truth, I think one of the biggest things that we can do is to start to talk about, if we are talking about like men's health, is just how revolutionary that really can be if we give men compassion and room to express themselves and be themselves, and not just focus on like they need to be this hardened shell of a person to do like raise their 2.5 kids, do the 9 to 5, build this whatever machine. So
I also, Rebecca, in the opposite, when talking to dudes who are just like, oh, women, they just talk so much and they're so emotional. And then sometimes I'm like, does any of that kind of sound a little bit healthy, though? Because, like, the opposite of that, just bottling everything up, never expressing yourself, never telling people, like, I'm not okay, that is profoundly fucked up as well. Like, that's just going to stay inside you. And then who do you deal with? Oh, I just go for long car rides. It's like, well, that's good. That, doesn't help you.
You're right. You're right. It's okay not to be okay. I was told by a former partner of mine that, when I don't like, because how he proceeds, like, I feel like I'm dating a man. And, I got a cute little strong structure, little, what I'm saying? I got that, whatever. That's okay. But he's like, I feel like I'm dating a man sometimes because you can get a little aggressive. You can get whatever. You always on defense because he thinks that's how men should be. So for him, he's like, you need to be a little bit softer. You need to be a little bit, whatever Kevin Samuels is telling the people in his ghostly self on the internet. But, you need to be more softer. You need to be more this, because you can't be a man like me. You can't be aggressive. I got to be aggressive. You can't be defensive. I got to make sure I set the rules and I'm defensive. You can't. I'm like, you don't always have to be that way. Hey, I might be a little strong sometimes. I get it. But I'm talking about you here. You don't always have to be that way. This is a safe space. And it's sometimes when I know you're saying it's a safe space, but I spent over 30 years of my life being this. So that's going to be some work to do. Not go see somebody, go sit on somebody's couch. But if you don't want to go sit on somebody's couch, there's other forms of therapy or something else that should be able to help you go where you're accepted. I know sometimes for people, detaching from the very thing that's making you feel a certain way is super duper hard. Especially for a man who may be the representative in that particular situation as the man. It's hard for you to detach from that. But if you need to for a while, or in some way, shape, or form, just to get your mind right and relearn yourself outside of what society is saying is, logical, and what you got to do, and, systemically, I want you to know that's available, because a lot of men, because they're not able to talk about it, because they're not able to flesh it out, they're committing suicide. So, we love our men. We want you to live, for the ones that deserve it. I got to be clear about that, because some of y'all ain't no good. Some of y'all are naturally just dirty in your heart. But, for our men, and that, I really want my men, like I got so many, but I want men in general who are looking for that space to know that it is out there. It is out there. And, you get to just kind of unwind. Statistically, it's y'all are having a really hard time. But of course, systemically, it's made for you guys to feel like you can't be in any way, shape, or form soft. And, this 2024, get you somebody who you could also be soft with, and you can make them soft, be a pillow, for that person. And also that person be a pillow for you.
it's nothing you've said should take away from the idea that, like, you know, you can't be masculine, or masculinity is a man being strong at all times. No, you can be strong. You can be strong of character. You don't have to necessarily be like a monstrously huge alpha Chad 24/7. You know, I think a lot of women are attracted to K-pop stars, and that's not exactly what they're, you know, putting out there. But like the bigger point is that, like, yeah, you don't have to only be strong in one way, and then it's very healthy, because this is just human beings, to have a range of emotions. We're not supposed to be closed off in one gender specifically, and then the other one is completely open or something like that. It's just not. It's not healthy.
We're all human beings, for fuck's sake. Like, we can be human, you know?
Yeah.
We're all human.
We're people. We're people. Okay. And but again, I ain't afraid of marginalizing the men for this particular conversation, because you know, there's a lot of times it's kind of taboo to have that conversation centering men, because men be at the center of all of the drama, you know, up at the White House, and all, you know, a lot of laws and stuff.
They don't count in this conversation.
Yeah, but you know, the ones in my life and stuff, you know, y'all deserve a pillow to up a soft space. So so
I will say, to your point about getting a therapist, if you don't have a therapist, or don't want to see a therapist, or can't afford a therapist, there's things that you can do aside from talking to somebody. Like, there are role models who actually talk about this that I think do a great job. Biggest recommendation is FD Signifier. Like, he makes so many really good content. Like, I watched so he did like I think it was a 2.5 hour video essay on anime, and why young men, you know, identify so much with anime. And a lot of it comes down to like the way that it's portraying manliness, and like how to be a man and a young man, and the struggles and the trials that you face. And so, like, if you could find people that talk about the way that other people process emotions, then like you might through proxy be able to do it yourself if you can't afford a therapist or something. So like folks like that who like are role models are great. And like, I'm a grown ass man, but like I'm watching FD Signifier, like, oh my God, that makes sense for me, you know? So it's good to, you know, explore that side of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We tend to say like masculinity is the binary opposite of femininity, and there's these two circles can't ever overlap, and that's again how it sort of reinforces this stuff. It's actually like we're all human, we all feel the same emotions, regardless of whether you're seen as a man or as a woman or whatever. It's about trying to like just find ways to express yourself and express who you want to be in the world and perform who you want to be in the world. And I think that the society telling you that it has to be separate is what causes all those problems. Also, I see someone in one of the chats is talking about foreign man and foreign land. We were talking about Feek, but foreign man, who's the sweetest, like one of the sweetest humans that I've ever met in my life. He's another video essayist, and a close friend of mine actually. And he does such great videos. Is like he's like one of the biggest dudes you've ever met. Like he works out a bunch. He's got like one of the like buffest dudes, and yet he is one of the most like openly, vulnerably emotional people that I've ever met in my life. Like I've met him, and he just gives like the best hugs, and is just so open and giving all the time. And I think he does really good video essays about just like talking about breaking down some of this stuff and like being open
He's
about.
a great ally too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, he's fantastic. Yeah. Like foreign is the best. I adore him.
I love foreign.
It's important to see those kinds of people and like have them as role models, even if you're an adult. Like it's not bad to look up to people. Like you don't have to pretend like you have everything figured out. Like I was having this conversation like a couple of weeks ago with maybe it was my husband. I don't remember who the fuck I was talking to, but I was like, man, I feel like even though I'm in my 30s now and getting towards my late 30s, I still don't feel like I have it all figured out. You know, I still feel like a kid mentally. And it's like, man, I thought that you just, you know, not that you know all of the universe's secrets by now, but you just kind of like, when you're younger, you look up to your parents and you think, man, they're just, they're fully formed humans. But, you know, as you get to this age, it's like, no, they're not. They're just regular human beings. They're flawed. They're learning as they go along. You never stop learning.
We're there. Like,
well, I would say they are fully formed humans.
I mean, they're not aliens. They're not like whatever.
I hope they're not like mutants, like walking around.
I mean, I'm not a fully formed human. I'm an anamorph. It's fine.
That's what people say, honey. The internet they'll make you a monster. But But it's funny you say that, Mike, because I was thinking the other day, I was having a conversation with my girlfriend, my best friend, and I'm talking to her. I'm like, damn, these are the conversations my mother used to have on the phone when I was younger. And I'm like, dang, she was like 34 one time too. And I thought she was an ancient lady, but she was trying. I remember these conversations trying to flesh things out. And she was trying to understand and get some comprehension because she's like, this is the first time I'm doing this on a Tuesday, trying to be a mama on a Tuesday in this particular year. And she was trying to get some kind of understanding. I also say this on my show. My father, who was also in his 30s at the time, I remember seeing him. Like, he would go to his office. He would never, like, him and my mom would argue, right? Okay, fine. They would argue. But the way that my mom would release she'd be free. She'd be, and releasing her emotion. Free. Right? We wouldn't think anything of it. If my dad would ever to try to do it, we're like, dad's doing too much, right? Mm-hmm. However, I remember going in, seeing where he would go into his office, and that's where he would let out a lot of his emotion. I remember walking by. I've only seen my dad cry, I can count on one hand, maybe like 2 or 3 times. And I remember him just having a crying session. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother had passed away, but I remember him having a crying session. He didn't go cry to my mama. He ain't talk to my mom. He ain't do nothing. He went there, and I could just hear him cry. And usually nobody goes to his office around that time. We supposed to be in bed, but I was walking by, and I just stood there. I didn't go to him. I didn't do anything. I just felt so hurt that he was feeling hurt, but he had to go do it in secret. He had to go do it in secret. That's
guys do that.
It's tough. So yeah, I really want our men to be free. Yeah, go ahead and cry. Go ahead and express yourself. This hurts me. This don't feel good. I'm having a bad day. Okay, this is what this was like to me. Right now I need a moment. Because I know they'll be quick to go online. The new kids, they'll be quick to go online and be like, ugh, like this man, I was talking to him and he wanted to walk away because he was having a bad day. He's a little bit sassy. He's a little bit bitchy. He's not man enough for me, whatever. And a man needs to be able to express that. That does not make him less of a man. And that's my opinion, but I feel like that's Bible too.
No,
it does not make him less
brave to be vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
What's more masculine than being brave? And it's brave to be vulnerable. It's hard to do. It's hard to open up. There's also a world beyond patriarchy. People should realize that a lot of that got imported here, right? Like with the colonization, there was indigenous bands in Canada that were matriarchal, right? The power structure was not completely patriarchal. It comes with a sense of ownership, right? Almost like women are property or a form of property, and that's that dynamic. Just if you expand it outwards into society, that's where you get things like the idea where men have to earn, they have to be the ones who bring home and secure the family, protect the family. They're the guardians, but we don't live in that world. We live in a world where women work. More women are graduating in medical fields now than men, and they're filling up universities. There's going to be a huge amount of forgotten boys left behind if something doesn't change. People don't start treating it differently.
I mean, the important thing to recognize that is anything that is built can be unbuilt. Anything that we can think of that we can actually build up ourselves. And so it's recognizing that this isn't the way that men have to be, but it's a way that men were taught to be, in a way that our society was built to then expand out and view others. Again, women as property, and then you can't change from being property to property owner. And then it's also the gender was through how we racialize people too. People black people were seen as animals compared to white womanhood that need to be protected and things like that. So all of that comes from all of this bullshit that we created around gender and other topics, and it was made to racialize and modify. And then the other thing too is I think it's important, the way to fight stuff like this is to build communities in person, online, wherever you can, because not everybody can do it in person, but find communities where you can be yourself and like you were talking about, Rebecca, find people that you can cry with. I think that's a big tell. If you can cry with someone, you can express a lot more emotions with somebody. And I think everyone needs to have people that they feel comfortable being able to cry around. Hopefully that's in person. We need more in-person stuff with that. But
crying does not make you less of a man. I know that it's tough. I was saying on my other show, I was like, I like my man to be a man the way that society told me. I like him to be strong. I like him to be there for me. I like him to be, wanting to. Now, that ain't the men I've been meeting, but other than that, I like my man to be a man. I like him to, be strong, be manly, be the one that's going to run things or whatever. But how am I presenting myself as a woman matters as well. But I also want my man to know that in this space with me, I can't talk about any other woman or person, but in this space with me, I can say that over time, I've learned to unlearn systemically being Haitian, because baby, in the Caribbean, you got to be a man, honey. And then, being a woman, being an American, that patriarchal way, what I'm saying? Like, having to unlearn a lot of things so that I can carve out my own path of what I want my relationships to look like. Even with my brother, I was telling him like, hey, talk to me. He was telling me he couldn't get no sleep. Didn't want to break it down, but was telling everybody who would listen, I didn't get any sleep. I just didn't, I don't know why, but I didn't get any sleep, but would not like divulge, wouldn't. Yeah, he wouldn't. And I was like, I had to call him and be like, hey, no. Let's talk about it. What's making you, what are you feeling? What's on your mind? Is there anything on your mind? Are you comfortable with having the conversation? Creating that room for him to let him know, hey, I'm here for you. If you just want me to listen and not say anything, I'm here. But it's like I said, it's our duty. I wouldn't say it's your job. I don't want to say that because I know it gets the girls crazy, right? It ruffles feathers, right? But if we want to be good to people, right? We were mentioning we're people. We deserve, it's not, we shouldn't just say this and this person. We have to understand the plights that each of the groups, the marginalized groups or people go through. And with understanding that, you should know there is being good to people and allowing them to have that general thing all around. Everybody deserves a safe space. Okay. I don't care how you identify, what you believe in, what your sexuality. I don't care. People deserve a safe space. Yeah. And that includes men. So
it's something just to if I may hawk my wares a little bit again. The movie I was talking about, Identities, one of the elements of it that was important to me, like the basic plot is like two people wake up in a room, but it's important that there's a guy and a girl and they don't have any memory of who they are. And the movie kind of talks about how they find themselves and like learn who they are and then have expectations placed upon them and trying to be like, who are they? And one of the elements of it that was really interesting to me is that I had both actors kind of play the same role, but then how, because they were seen as a guy in this world and because they were seen as a girl in this world, how they started to differentiate, not because they were different people, but because they were treated differently and how they were taught to be. And James Tyson, who's the actor who plays like the sort of guy in the film, again, I'm trying to stay vague without spoiling, like he is one of the most, he's a queer comedian, and he is one of the most vulnerable, kindest, sweetest people you'll ever meet in real life. And he has these really great moments of like vulnerability throughout the film. And one of the hardest parts of it, as we went through and found his performance, is like how he hardens because of how he's treated throughout the film. And like by the end of the film, he's a kind of a harder, he has like a harder shell. And then the other character, Maggie plays, she's given a lot of inner anxiety because she's treated as a woman. She's supposed to be like, you have to like present being pretty the whole time. And so, yeah, it's something that like sorry, I'm hawking my wares about my own movie.
No, it's okay.
Where can we
You're making me think
movie?
about this.
I mean,
I know on Nebula, you can find it on Nebula, released in June 25th, called Identities.
Exciting.
But yeah, I don't know why I'm doing finger guns a lot when I sell it. Buy my movie.
This is a safe space, baby. Yeah. You could be whatever, however, do it all. Be awkward.
This is me.
It's safe. It's safe over here.
But yeah, no, it's that's what the movie kind of is about, and and it's just everything you're saying, Rebecca, and everyone we're talking about. It's just it's all part and parcel with just how we try to tell people to be and how you're allowed to like there's a person you are, and then you're told like this is how you can express that. That's how you're supposed to do it because of how you're seen by the world. Whether a guy, a girl, white, black, whatever. Like you're told like this is how you have to be because of the way the world sees you in this way. And it's like actually we can build something different that lets you express who you want to be to the world, and the world accepts that. And I think that's where a lot of the issues we see in society comes today is like people like this is who we are, this is how we want to treat each other, and being like no, this is how you have to be because we want you to be this way for whatever system we've created.
Yeah, that's good. Anyways, I love everybody. I love the men. I love the women. I love anybody. Like I love everyone. I don't care. And so everybody deserves love. I don't no, everybody deserves, but people who ain't no good, gotta be clear. Again, I'm gonna end with people who ain't no
Not Henry
good.
Kissinger. Not Henry Kissinger. Not
The day
You know who you are.
You know,
Yeah.
people who find out that they have a problem and know that it may be something that is systemic or something that stemmed from your environment or whatever, and still choose to do people dirty. It ain't you I'm talking to. But I'm just talking about people who just, generally were just they're having a hard time figuring it out and are hurting people in the process, but want to stop. There's help somewhere with somebody. People may be sick of you. Somebody may be willing to just hear you out. You deserve to be here and rehabilitate or whatever, because I believe that good people deserve grace. So
yeah.